The deadline for players to declare for the 2019 NFL Draft was yesterday, and 7 Alabama underclassmen elected to enter the draft, a school record, surpassing 5 in both 2014 and 2018. So, with the departing seniors and draft entrees now off the roster for the upcoming season, what better time than now to take an early look at the Crimson Tide's projected depth chart for 2019? First off, let's make one thing clear, this is not Alabama's official depth chart. This is derived from the Tide's depth chart from 2018, the 15 games everyone just watched, observations from the media viewing periods of practice and some pure preseason predictions on my part, with the explanations out of the way. Bama Online takes a stab at projecting Alabama's depth chart following the end of the 2018 season, as well as provides reasoning behind each position group. Get breaking Bama news in your inbox. Sign up for our free email newsletter. Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa starter, Tua Tagovailoa reserves, Mac Jones, Lane Hatcher signees, Talia Tagovailoa, Paul Tyson reasoning. Jalen Hurts has entered this NCAA transfer portal and has visited 3 schools. He won't be back in Tuscaloosa next season, but the Crimson Tide signed 2 quarterbacks with ties to Alabama during the 2019 recruiting cycle, the younger brother of Tagovailoa and the great-grandson of Paul Bear Bryant. Mac Jones and Lane Hatcher are another year older, too, but the biggest and best news for Alabama fans is Tua Tagovailoa will be back behind center. Alabama running back Najee Harris starter, Najee Harris reserves, Brian Robinson, Jerome Ford signees, Trey Sanders reasoning. Alabama's top 2 backs from this past season are moving on to the league in Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs, leaving the running back position to Najee Harris, who was the third back of a 3-headed rushing attack in 2018. He should see the majority of the carries this fall after spending his first 2 seasons as a backup. Robinson should also see his role increase as a third-year player, while Sanders looks the part of a true freshman contributor. Alabama wide receiver Jerry Jeudy starters, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs 3, Devonta Smith reserves, Jalen Waddle, Tyrell Shavers, Xavier Williams, Jadarius Townsend, Slade Bolden signees, John Mechie reasoning. All 4 of Alabama's playmaking wide receivers will be back for the 2019 campaign and looking to build off what they accomplished last season. Derek Keefe and Xavier Marks are gone, but players like Shavers and Williams seemed primed to take on bigger roles. Townsend spent most of the 2018 season with the cornerbacks, but with the receivers needing more depth, don't be surprised to see him move back to offense and work in the slot with Jeudy and Waddle. Alabama tight end Miller Forristall starters, Miller Forristall, Kedrick James reserves, Major Tennyson, Michael Parks signees, Jaleel Billingsley reasoning. This is the position where Alabama arguably took the biggest hit this offseason. Hale Henges and Irv Smith Jr. are both gone, and those 2 led the position the last 2 years. Forristall played some last year, but he was still recovering from an ACL injury he sustained in 2017. The Tide has 3 young players on the roster behind Forristall, but James could miss time next fall because of an NCAA violation prior to the college football playoff this past year. Alabama offensive lineman Alex Leatherwood, left, and Jedrick Wills starters, Alex Leatherwood, Deonte Brown, Chris Owens, Matt Womack, Jedrick Wills reserves, Scott Lashley, Emil Ekiyor, Tommy Brown, Elliott Baker, Kendall Randolph, Hunter Brannon signees, Evan Neal, Pierce Quick, Amari Kite, Tanner Bowles, Darian Dalcourt reasoning. The Crimson Tide will be without some familiar names up front, with Jonah Williams declaring for the draft and Ross Pierschbaker and Lester Cotton running out of eligibility. But there are also some notable players returning. Wills and Leatherwood are back and have shown they can move around the line. Womack has experience as a starter and so do Brown. But the thing with Brown will be, is he available to play because of NCAA violations? We will continue to monitor that and the movement of the offensive line throughout spring ball and preseason camp. Alabama defensive linemen Fidarian Mathis, left, and Raekwon Davis starters, Raekwon Davis, Fidarian Mathis, LeBrian Ray reserves, Christian Barmore, Stephon Wynn, Tavita Musica signees, Antonio Alfano, DJ Dale, Justin Eboigbe, Braylon Ingram reasoning, who lost 2 starters this offseason in Quinnen Williams and Isaiah Buggs, but Davis, a rising senior, chose to return for his final season in Crimson. That was big for the Crimson Tide, literally. He should step back into his starting role at defensive end while productive reserves Mathis and Ray are likely to start opposite him. Outside of that, Alabama will be dealing with a lot of inexperienced players. Look for a number of freshmen to contribute on the D-line in 2019. Alabama linebacker Anfernee Jennings starters, Anfernee Jennings, Terrell Lewis reserves, Christopher Allen, Abianoma, Ben Davis, Cameron Latu, Jarris Parks signees, Kevin Harris, King Mwikuta reasoning, Christian Miller is out of eligibility, but Alabama will have a healthy Lewis and Allen to work with next fall, which should help with the depth at outside linebacker. Throw in Anoma, who will be a sophomore in 2019, as well as the other young players at outside backer, and the position group should be in good hands next fall with Jennings, who is entering his 5th season in the program, leading the charge for the OLB's defense and entire team as a vocal leader. Alabama linebacker Dylan Moses starters, Dylan Moses, Joshua McMillan, Ale Cajo reserves, Markyle Benton, Jalen Moody signees, Christian Harris, Shane Lee reasoning, Mac Wilson elected to enter the draft, leaving the defensive signal caller role to someone else. Moses is the clear-cut defender to lead the defense out of Egypt. I mean, into a new season as its quarterback. That's an easy question to answer. What is difficult is which guy will fill in alongside Moses. McMillan will be a redshirt senior in 2019 and has filled in the past. Cajo will be a sophomore coming off a promising freshman campaign. Could we see another season where 2 players fill one linebacker role? It's possible and sure to be interesting. Alabama cornerback Trevon Diggs starters, Trevon Diggs, Patrick Surtain II, Shyheim Carter reserves, Josh Jobe, Nigel Knott, Jalen Armour Davis signees, Marcus Banks, Jeffrey Carter, Brandon Turnage reasoning. After losing all 6 defensive backs a season ago, Alabama will only have to replace 2 starters this offseason, and only one of those is a cornerback, with Syvion Smith declaring. The good news for Alabama is Diggs will have recovered from a foot injury, Carter will be a senior leader, and Surtain is another year older. Young players like Jobe and Armour Davis will also provide quality depth as 2 players that held a lot of promise when they joined the program. Alabama safety Xavier McKinney starters, Xavier McKinney, Jared Maiden reserves, Daniel Wright, Kyrie McDonald, Eddie Smith signees, Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms reasoning. The second departing defensive back was Deontay Thompson, who would have been the unquestioned leader of the secondary had he decided to return. But this is McKinney's group now, and the rising junior seems poised to lead the DBs into the 2019 season. Alabama has some options opposite McKinney, too, as Maiden played in dime packages this past year, and Wright should be back on the field after an injury and suspension kept him out most of 2018. Contact Charlie Potter by 247 Sports personal messaging or on Twitter, @CharliePotter.